and we said we only give it for cash. So we made them for about $500 and we sold them for $5,000 because it was a whole new product line.
These were big companies and they were
all small companies. And they all have a 10 by 10 booth. But you know, it's like if 100 10 by 10 booths have your product, that has a huge impact. You know, it has as much impact as one big company having your product.
So you managed to convince them in 3 hours?
Oh, just in 10 minutes. Because what happens is that there's a tremendous grapevine. In business, you'll soon find out that there is an incredible grapevine. You guys know what a grapevine is, right? Grapevine? How does grapes grow? They don't grow on branches or on trees. They just go this way, they just go in every different direction. And then you got grapes hanging up. So basically, all these vines, entangle with each other, connect with each other. And in a grapevine, information travels very fast. If you take one of the grapevines and pull them, another vine which is 20 feet away will shake because the information is transferred 20 feet because they're all connected with each other. So gossip is a very powerful grapevine.
So then how do you convince them that this was the, like in 10 minutes, that's the point? Like how did you tell them that this was, that's why I asked you, did you do it before the press release or after the press release?
No, the press release happened. And then I got a bunch of 15, 20 customers in there. So at first I got 3 big companies endorsement. Then I got the next 15, 20 customers. And then I got the 100 customers. Yeah.
So like you mentioned that the motherboards were like you did not have Opti on it. So how did you convince them? You said everybody was about who is Opti. So
yeah, so we did not put the label on the board. The chips have Opti. Anything else? Yeah.
Opti never raised funds, so how could you deliver the first consignment?
It's asking a perfect question. Okay, we'll come to that because that was the magic. That was one of the magic. Finance was a key element. How do you build a semiconductor company with no money? And that's the magic, right? So I'll talk about that. One more slide. So first generation product took off like a rocket. But then you're going to repeat. Because if you don't repeat, then you are one-time success. And a one-time success is not a company. So basically what happens is that your competition figures it out. They're also trying to figure out how to win the market, and everybody knows that Optis took one whole market, one whole generation for 6 to 9 months. But then 9 months later, it's the next generation of product that comes. And by that time, everybody's smarter. So everybody now wants to compete with you. So then we came up with the next strategy called turnkey manufacturing package. So what we did is we went ahead and focused on something called time to market. So at that time, everybody would develop a chip, which has got 30,000 gates at that time. Now every chip has got 500,000 gates. At that time, 30,000 gates is what transistor circuits is what each chip had. And people would write a 200-page manual explaining how these 30,000 transistor signals would be going in and out, and how they would work and everything else, how they would control memory, how they would control cache, how they would control IO devices. So basically, people write a 200-page manual to explain that. Now imagine, my competition used to walk into all these motherboard manufacturers in Taiwan, where there are people who don't know English, or they really don't know English, or very little English, and they say, how do I design a motherboard with your chipset? And they'll say, here is the manual. And they put, 3 manuals with 3 chips, this much, paper in English and tell the Taiwanese engineers, you read it, figure out how the chips work, design the thing in 2 months, and then we'll, send you some samples and you can build your board and test it and so on. So that's how people used to sell. They've been using that approach of selling chips for the last 30 years. Intel did it, Motorola did it, TI did it, everybody did it the same way. If you develop a chip, you write a spec, you document. So what we did is we said, we've got to increase the speed at which the customer starts using your product. So what we did is we said, we would walk in and we would obviously promote the products, convince them that it's a great business that they can build with the product, so sell the vision, and then they'll say, okay, how do we get started? So they are all expecting to receive these books. And we say, no books for Opti chips. We don't tell you what's inside the chip. We don't tell you how the chip works. But we actually give you the film for building your motherboard. So I had the best engineers in the US create a motherboard and create a film for the motherboard, and we said, here is the film. And you take this film, ship it to your PCB manufacturing shop, you order these components, and assemble them, and they'll work. And in 1 week, you will get your board working, your computer working. And they said, the engineers were baffled, they were shocked that there's no manual. I mean, they're engineers, and there's somebody saying that I don't want to give you any technical information about what you're doing, but I'm going to give you TMP or turnkey manufacturing package in order to get you something that automatically works. So by doing that, guess what happens? If our competitor's product would take about 6 months after they decide to start designing the product to actually getting the working motherboard. In our case, it was 6 days. So when the next generation of chipset came, I stopped producing all technical manuals and only started giving them the manufacturing package. So all of a sudden, the next generation of product, when we competed, my product was out in the marketplace in six months ahead of the competition. And all of a sudden, my revenue went from $25 million all the way to $65 and $100 million because I took over the whole market because I had given all my customers a 6-month competitive advantage over people who use my competitors' products. So basically, the message is that you have to make your buyers successful. You have to understand your buyer's needs. So when people write manuals, they're taking care of the seller's needs, right? But here, I took care of the buyer's need to get to market fast with a good design. I had the best design done, and I got into the market 6 months ahead of his competitors. Now, what's interesting about any of these high-tech businesses is that in 6 to 9 months, the price of a product falls by 40%. Do you guys agree? Any smartphone, any PC, any MP3 device, everything, at least drops 40%. So, does the cost drop 40%? It only dropped 5%. So guess what? 35% of the cost drop, price drop, was profit. So manufacturers that enter a market 6 months late lose 35% of the profit. So if the total profit, gross profit in a product is around 45% gross margin, then 90% of the profit is already already gone by the time, you know, the latecomers enter the marketplace. So basically, you know, if you are going to take care of your customer, not only should you get your product done fast, but your customer's product should be done fast also, so that he's ahead of the marketplace by 6 months, because then he is successful with his profitability. Does that make sense? So basically, you know, turnkey manufacturing package was absolutely the key. Now, somebody asked a good question, like, how do you build? We were building actually manufacturing product, right? How do you build product with no money in the bank? We had $1 million, and we had next year, second year, we had $25 million in sales. It means we shipped $25 million of product. Now, just look at the economics of this business. So the economics is, when you make your chip, you obviously send it to a Japanese fab or a Taiwanese fab, and because you don't have any credit, they want the money up front. So you order $1 million worth of chips, they want $1 million the day you release the chip. So $1 million left your pocket. Now, it takes them about 6 weeks to make the wafers. So 6 weeks later, $1 million of wafers show up in your factory, in your company. Then you got to package it, test it, and get it ready for shipping, which takes about another 2 weeks. So 8 weeks after you ship your money, you're ready to start shipping the product. Let's assume you had your purchase orders and everything in place. You ship it out. Now, if you ship it to any customer in the US, they take 30 to 45 days to pay, so another 6 weeks. And if you ship it to Europe, they take 60 to 75 days to pay. So you're looking at, you know, another 8 to 12 weeks. So now you're looking at, you paid $1 million and you receive payment for the product that was built on that $1 million. You receive payment for that almost 4 months, 6 or 5 months later. Now, how are you going to build a company? Right? So, we basically started working with Taiwan because in Taiwan they have something called letter of credit, LC. Very important 2 words, 2 letters, LC. It's great when you receive an LC, because that's like money in the bank, you know. So in Taiwan, they basically issue a letter of credit whenever you ship the product. So if I ship my product, I get an LC against which I ship, letter of credit. And I can take that LC that I've received, and instead of waiting 45 days to receive the payment, I can take that LC to the bank, a Taiwanese bank, and they pay me the money instantaneously. So now I have a 6-week advantage on getting paid. So basically, we used the letter of credit in order to, take care of the financial issues. If I had shipped product to big American companies, I would not have been able to take advantage of the financial arrangements that Taiwan government takes in order to ensure that their motherboard manufacturers can stay competitive in the marketplace. Now, we all have been hearing about Modi and Made in India, right? Guess what? Made in India will require our banks to change before, the manufacturers can change, start making in India. The banks will have to have the confidence to let a manufacturer issue a letter of credit to a US supplier in order to go ahead and have that supplier in the US ship product to him so that he can build his, electronic device or whatever he's going to manufacture. So, Taiwan government and now China have basically made it very easy for the manufacturers to go ahead and receive product from all over the world, and that is one of the reasons that they have become the manufacturing powerhouses of the world. Not so easy for other countries that do not have a supported banking system to break into this manufacturing business. Anyway, so I've kind of written down a full slide, which you guys have in your portal, about how the LC works. And it's, if you're going to be in business, you better know how this LC works. It's not something that everybody teaches, but it's really important. That's something that you learn. Okay, so let's take another 10 minutes and look at Selectica, where we will move from being a semiconductor company to an enterprise software company. So in Selectica, basically 5 years late compared to the other small competitors like Trilogy and Canso. We had no experience in the enterprise software business, and yet in 5 years we became the absolute leader in the market. And we started signing $10 million license deals, and we had 800 employees worldwide in 5 years, and then took the company public for $5 million. So essentially, you know, with the right business strategies and the right marketing strategies so that you can get that, win the market, you can build a company that, you know, can finish the product and take it successful. So the approach that I took here is to, so in all of these cases, you have to try to figure out what the buyer's needs are and kind of generalize it across multiple buyers in order, because that becomes your market. So in my particular case, with Selectica, I was targeting the high-end companies like Cisco, Dell, Aetna, IBM, GE. So I was targeting all those kind of companies for my IT service products. And all my competition was developing a competitive product, but they were not really addressing what the buyer needed. So what I decided was to take advantage of the fact that in India, we have an amazing pool of IT engineers. So all my competitors were US competitors, and it was very hard for them to have 400 IT engineers just sitting there, developing demo solutions for all the big companies. So I took and went up and put 400 engineers in Pune and Chennai and started building mock-up solutions for all the big companies. So when my salespeople would go ahead and promote the product, they don't have to say, this is the general problem, and this is the problem that it solves, and this is how it would work, you know, when it starts, when you implement it 6 months or 1 year from now. So I had already built 80% of the solution in my offices in Pune and Chennai. The solution was already ready, had the Hitachi logo, had the IBM logo, had kind of, you know, their products, you know, because everything today in terms of product spec is available on the internet. So every product, you know, you can just, you know, identify right on the internet, you know, what the products are, features are, and you can build your whole solution, targeted solution right there. And so when I would walk into a customer, I would walk in with a mocked up solution, customized for them right on day one. So all of a sudden, you know, I've taken away so many risks and visioning issues that essentially our competitors would have. And as a consequence, in just a few years, you know, we took IBM, we took Hitachi, you know, globally we started winning all these deals.
Sir, but the license deals
Huh?
License deal, you mentioned the previous slide.
Okay, let's go to the previous slide.
You said 10 million license deal
Yeah.
signed.
Previous. Wonderful. Okay, so basically, when you sell a software product, you license it so that they can use your technology. You know, even though it's like 500,000 lines of code, they don't own the code. You own the code, and they just have the license to use the code. So, in order to allow people to use the configuration capability for their computers, configuring the routers, configuring the insurance policies, configuring the MRI machines, we would charge them $10 million so that, you know, hundreds of their salespeople and manufacturing people and other people can configure and use that capability. Okay. Any other questions? So what I've done on Selectica is I've given you the complete prospectus which describes, you know, the entire company and how it's all come together. The sales, the marketing, the technology, the financing, the founder story, the risk, the competition, all of that is documented in this prospectus, and it's being uploaded to the portal. And I'd like you to do the following homework for the class. Okay, so if you go here, you need to, you know, here, all the presentation and everything is in the first section. So, the presentation that you saw right now is right there. The whole Selectica prospectus is documented right here. And then there's another very good article that I'd like you to read. There are two articles, which is in Going Global, that a person called Gado and another Philippines entrepreneur has written that. And then there's a video from the same course that I offered 3 months ago in USA, so that, you know, if there is an additional material that, you know, we've not covered today, it's already there. So please go through all of this stuff and then focus on the homework. So this is the homework in class. So you have to read the Selectica prospectus and the presentation slides, and then just write 1 to 3 points. I don't want you to write major essays and all that. I want you to write, you know, in point form, 3 points, which is how did Selectica develop its position. We covered a lot on Opti, but I'd like you to read the prospectus and come up with a position for Selectica. How does Selectica brand itself? What market segment it introduces to, and how is it deal in this market? And then the second question is, for the company that you've got in mind, how would you and why would you get suitable and what strategies? And just write 1 paragraph for each of these questions. Okay, so that's the homework for the class today. Okay, so with that, thank you very much, and next week we cover, next Friday we cover